If you've ever looked up on a Thursday and thought, why do I still feel so far behind? Well, welcome to the club, right? Most pastors, including you, you're not unmotivated, you're not unfocused, you're not lazy, but you are leading under a lot of pressure. And pressure makes leaders reactive. It always does. I mean, you probably know this, but let me just say it out loud. Your church and you as a leader will not drift into clarity, health, or growth. You will drift into confusion, pressure, and stagnation. That's where the drift always takes us, and it's always accidental, right? Accidental, kind of reactive leadership always sneaks in when urgency wins. So today, let's talk about how to reverse that drift and design a year, maybe 2026, of intentional leadership, the kind that actually moves your mission forward. When I work with pastors around the country, I hear the same phrase over and over. I feel like I'm doing everything I can, and it still feels like I'm behind. I'm working harder than ever, but I can't just catch up. And that's not anyone's imagination. I mean, ministry pressure, it is relentless. Sunday shows up like clockwork. They say it's every 7 days, but I tell you, when I was working as a lead pastor for 13 years, it felt like it was every 3 days. I mean, crises, right? The people in your church, the crisis that happens, the tragedy that happens, those don't take holidays. Like discipleship doesn't, schedule itself. So you end up kind of living in the gap between what you want to lead and what you have to react to. That's why accidental leadership is almost always the default, right? No pastor chooses that, but incredible pressure really does come from it. So here's what I'd love for you to remember, though. Accidental leadership, it is not a character problem. It is just a clarity problem. And clarity requires intentionality. The opposite of accidental is intentional. And I love helping leaders become more intentional. Intentional leadership, it's not a personality type, right? It's not like a color code in the calendar or like a new software subscription. Intentional leadership is a posture. Intentional leadership, it is the decision to lead with purpose before pressure demands a reaction. Let me give you some examples of how this can work. And this is straight from some of the work that I've done with pastors over the last several months and even years. So a couple things. One, clarify who owns what. Like when roles are fuzzy, everything becomes fragile, right? Volunteers, they can't default to reporting to we. They need to report to a me, okay? Because we can't hold people accountable. So let's kind of maybe be intentional about clarifying who owns what. Here's one. Maybe you can design a more predictable Sunday service flow. Like when your team understands the plan in advance with margin, they can execute with confidence. When they're guessing the plan or when they're finding out about it as it's being planned on the morning of, well, it's going to create a lot of hesitations and it's going to make it very unpredictable. Maybe this is one for you. Maybe you just need to build a discipleship pathway instead of a list of programs. That's a big one though, right? But programs don't form people, processes do. And a discipleship pathway is just a series of steps. It's a process. Maybe that would be an intentional step for you to take. Last one, let me just give you one more. What if you redesigned your guest follow-up, right? Maybe you start following up with guests intentionally within 48 hours. And again, not because you just want to have a system, but because it's a relational intentionality. None of those things really require that much more time. In fact, they actually might save time because that's what systems can do. They do require, though, some intentionality. This is what intentional churches do, right? Intentional churches make decisions on purpose, not by force because of pressure. That's what accidental churches do. Accidental churches are always making decisions because here comes Sunday again, So to help pastors kind of evaluate, people like you, to help you evaluate kind of where you're leading intentionally and where you may be drifting into accidental leadership, I created something called the Intentionality Inventory. And it's on my site, gavinadams.com. If you go to the blog page, you'll find 50 different things, 50 different places where churches routinely drift and 50 places where one intentional shift can create immediate clarity. And in that post, we cover areas like leadership culture, weekend services, discipleship pathways, community and connection, mission and outreach, system stewardship. I mean, lots of stuff. And most pastors, right, like you probably don't need a new vision. You don't need a new mission. What you might just need is some more intention in the parts of ministry that just are getting overlooked because there's so much pressure. And here's the part that may surprise you. When you become more intentional, this is so great. The pressure that you feel begins to decrease. I mean, it's an amazing thing. The more intentional that you are in leadership, the less pressure you will feel, which also means the less reactive you will become. I mean, being intentional is like the serum for accidental leadership. So when pressure, think of it this way, it thrives in ambiguity. Intentionality creates clarity. So the list that I created for you, this inventory, it's definitely not meant to overwhelm you. It's just meant to empower you. It's going to give you lots of different places you can consider being more intentional. And I would just ask you to choose one area this week. That's it. Just choose one area this week. And imagine, like, if you chose one area this week, what could happen in 2026? Over 50 weeks, one area a week, you could get 50 things done, 50 places that you could be more intentional, 50 places that you have created clarity and purpose. I mean, that's incredible. 50 parts of your ministry that would grow stronger and clearer, become more aligned. I mean, that's the kind of momentum that intentional leadership can create. Again, you don't need to implement all 50 tomorrow. You don't even need to do 10. Just pick one place this week that you have drifted into accidental leadership. That one area is where God may be inviting you to lead with a lot more intentionality. So again, maybe it's clarifying a role or gathering your team and redesigning the service flow. Maybe it's looking at my 5 rights framework and rethinking your discipleship pathway in light of what people actually need and how people move forward. I don't know, maybe you're going to finally kind of evaluate a ministry that quote unquote used to work, but no longer is really moving the mission forward. I mean, all of these things could be an answer, but just pick one. Start with something that's clearly in front of you and add some intention. Start with some clarity. Of course, if you would like some help walking through that with yourself or with your team as you think about being more intentional in 2026, this is why I do what I do. I offer ministry strategy sessions. Those are free 1-hour conversations with me where we talk through a topic and go deep on intentionality. I do leadership labs. Those are like 4, 5, 6 session conversations where we dig really deep into things like discipleship pathways and funding frameworks. I also work directly with leaders just like you in my strategic leadership partnerships. Those are ongoing consulting, coaching relationships. Because here's the thing. You don't have to, and you probably shouldn't try to navigate things like this alone. You can build systems and pathways and strategies, and we can do that match any size of organization with any mission that you have. So here's your step for this week. Just to reiterate, identify one place where you're leading reactively, name what intentionality would look like, and then take one step towards it. That's it. Can you imagine if you did that every week of 2026? Every week you just evaluated one thing to make it more intentional. Because intentional leadership is not about doing more, okay? It's going to feel like that at first, but it's really about doing what matters most and adding purpose to it. And when you do that, the pressure decreases, margin increases, effectiveness increases. You'll begin to maximize your mission because you'll be maximizing your and your church's potential. You can design a year of intentionality, and you can start today.